Hello everyone, this is Angie at Chic and Scratch, and today I'm going to show you how to make one of these fabric trays. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so here's the fabric that we're going to be using. I've got two pieces that measure 10 inches by 12 inches. So this is the outside fabric, which is this right here, and then the inside fabric, which is this here. And then I also have two pieces of fusible fleece. So the fabric measures 10 by 12, and I've made the fusible fleece a 1/4 inch smaller. So this is going to be 11 3/4 by 9 3/4. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is press the fusible fleece onto our fabric. Okay, so I've got my wool mat here, and I'm going to lay down one of these silicone sheets. So I'm going to take the front fabric and place the scratchy side down onto that right there. Okay, so this is ready to get pressed, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the lining fabric. Now I did choose two different interfacings, a thinner one for the inside and a thicker one for the outside. Okay, so this is the device. This is a Cricut heat press, and this is what I've been using now to press the fusible fleece to my fabric baskets and fabric trays and what have you. This helps. It goes so much faster. That's all I can say. It just goes so much faster. So I'm actually going to move the base of it out of the camera. I've got my silicone sheet here. I'm going to lay this down like that. I'm going to take a pressing cloth, and then I'm going to lightly spray this. I'm going to place this on here for 15 seconds. So I've got my timer set for 15 seconds. Once the timer goes off, I'm going to move it to the other side and press that for 15 seconds. You do want to make sure that it gets the edges, so you might have to do it again. Mine usually gets it done one go around. It really depends on which fusible fleece you're using. Okay, so let's check this. And I think it looks good. Okay, so now we've got the front fabric done, and now we're going to do the lining fabric. So again, just make sure that you keep this lined up. You don't want it going past the corners, but that's another reason why we have this silicone sheet here is that if it were to go over to the side, it wouldn't even stick to that. Actually, that's what the purpose of that is. Again, I'm just going to lightly spray it. And I think I said 15 seconds earlier. If I did, I meant 16 seconds. But again, you can play with your machine. It's 300 degrees for 16 seconds. And again. Okay, let's check the edges, and everything looks good. So I'll move this stuff away and we'll proceed. Okay, so for the next step, I've got my label, my pins, and my clips. And what we're going to do is fold our outside fabric in half, and then we're going to open it back up, and we're going to place our label. If you don't have a label, then just fast forward this step. So I'm just going to place it over here on the side. I'm going to clip it first to hold it in place, and then I'm going to pin it. Okay, now fold this back over, and I'm going to clip here and over here, down here at the bottom. And I've said this on every video, I tend to clip too much, but that's okay. Too much is better than too little. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the lining fabric, except we're not adding a label. So I'm just going to fold it over, and So we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew down the right side and the left side, and we're going to do that on both pieces. Okay, I am sewing on a Bernina 475, and I'm using foot 57. So I am using a 1/4 inch seam. That's what this foot is. I'm going to start with the front fabric. So here's our front fabric, and you want to make sure, if you have a label, that you caught the edges of the label, and I did. So now we're ready to box the corners. So I'm going to take an erasable marker, my 3.5 inch by 6.5 inch Creative Grids ruler. You only need 2 inches, so whatever ruler that you have will work, but it needs to be at least 2 by 2, okay? So I'm going to line up the 2 inches down at the bottom and the 2 inches at the corner. Okay, so bottom. Now make sure you line up the 2 inches with your seam and not the edge of your fabric. Otherwise, it's going to be wrong, okay? So 2 inches on the seam, 2 inches on the bottom, and then I'm just going to draw a line. Same thing on this side, 2 inches by 2 inches. Same thing to the lining fabric, same exact measurements. Now, if you want your basket taller, you can make this be 1.5 by 1.5. or 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut out this block or square, whatever you want to call it, and try to cut it as straight as you can. I always say I can't cut a straight line on a straight line. Which is why you see me do this section right here. Okay, so that one's done. Now let's do the front fabric. You really can whip these out really quickly. It takes me a little bit longer in the filming process, but it goes pretty quick. Especially if you need like a gift for a new neighbor or a cute way to wrap up a gift really quickly. Make them a fabric basket or a fabric tray or a drawstring bag. Okay, so the next step is we're going to fold it flat like that, and we're going to clip it. And then we're going to sew straight across. So we're going to do this side as well. Clip it. And the same thing for the lining fabric. So I like to just lay it completely flat. And if you have the erasable marker that erases by heat, we'll take care of that in just a little bit, okay? Because we do press this when we're done. Okay, so a recap, we're going to sew straight across on each side on both pieces. Okay, so now we're going to take the lining fabric and we're going to press those bottom corners in. So there we go. You can see that's done on both of those. And we're going to leave the front fabric just like that. We're going to place the inside fabric inside the front fabric, and we're going to line up our seams. Okay, so I'm going from one side to the other side and lining that up. We're going to be leaving an opening to turn the bag or tray right side out. But I want to make sure that I have this really inside there really well, okay? So that's what I'm doing. Now, I'm going to take a pin. I'm going to mark that I'm going to start sewing here. I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm going to stop sewing right here. That's going to give me that much of an opening to turn this right side out, okay? So the rest of this, I'm just going to clip so that things don't shift when I'm over on the sewing machine. Now, one other thing. I'm going to be sewing at a 1/2 inch seam instead of a 1/4 inch. That's the only spot in this project that I'm going to be sewing at a 1/2 inch, okay? For this step, we want to remove this plate because I want to use the arm. Okay, so I'm going to slide it on here, and like I said, I'm going to start sewing at this pin, and I'm going to line it up over here at my 1/2 inch mark, okay? Okay, so now we're going to find where we left that hole, and we're going to turn the tray right side out. Make sure you use your finger or a tool to press out those corners. Okay, now we're going to push the lining fabric inside the front fabric, and we're going to kind of roll it. I'm going to put my hand back in here and help this side. Okay. And if you receive one of these fabric trays from me, when you receive it, because we have to fold it flat, when you receive it, just make sure you press it again, because it will get its shape back once you press it. But once it's folded flat, then it kind of wants to act like this instead of like this, okay? So once we press this, of course, we still got to stitch. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so I'm gonna pin this, and we're gonna go around the whole bag, and we're gonna make sure that we roll that top down because it's a little thick there, and we wanna make sure that you can't see the lining fabric through the front fabric. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So I'm coming over here and clipping that. We also need to close our opening, but I'm gonna work on the rest of this. Okay, so for the opening, I'm gonna clip those threads. We don't want those peeking through. And then we're just gonna fold this and line that up. And this part, of course, is the most challenging, but practice makes perfect. So the more you do this, the better you'll get. And I'm gonna clip this several times so that I know when I get to the sewing machine that this is actually the opening, and to be careful and mindful to make sure that I get it the right way, get it sealed up. Okay, one more clip and I will see you over at the machine. So we're just gonna start in the seam here, go all the way around, and then end right back in that same seam, okay? For this step, we're going back to our 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so our rectangle fabric tray is complete. The final step is to take it over to your ironing board and press this side and this side and this side and this side. And like I said, if you've received one of these from me and it's folded flat, just put it on your ironing board and give it a good press. Again, just doing the sides, and that should make it pretty sturdy. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel.